So I have done my undergrad from Kalinga University back in India in Bhubaneswar. So I did my bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication. So while pursuing my program, what I would say is very important. I got an opportunity to publish few IEEE papers. So that became a kind of an edge while preparing for myself for my master's. At that time, I never thought of, but that actually gave me. Second, then once I graduated from university back home, that was in 2016, I worked in India for 2 years. That was in Capgemini. And then I got exposed to both software development as well as the evolving field of data science, AI, and machine learning. And with that, I decided to do my master's in University of Ottawa. Ottawa is Canada's capital. So I did my master's in business technologies with the specialization in data analytics and AI and machine learning as well. My scores in GRE were 310. And along with GRE, I had given IELTS. So in IELTS, my bands were like for listening it was 8, reading 9 out of 9, writing and speaking were 7 each. And that actually helped me grab the opportunity to do my master's here in Canada. So back home, my CGPA was close to 9. So that was around about 8.9, and which again doesn't have much impact while you're applying for your higher studies. And out of 4, my GPA was somewhere close to 3.9 in University of Ottawa. Whenever a student or whenever anyone decides about their program abroad, it can be categorized into 2 main factors. A good university can be decided based on how good is its research, or the second is how good jobs that you get once you graduate, which means you can have the criteria based on, in terms of ranking, how well the university is placed. For example, if I consider top 100 universities or top 200 universities, the second is based on the location. So for example, it'll be very easy to understand if I take a look, if I consider in this way. For example, universities that are in the state of Karnataka has more chances for a student to get a job easily once they graduate. For example, even if there's a higher ranked university placed a little bit in the northeast, a student might get a little bit challenged. Same goes here as well. So what I considered here is, in Canada, first I considered U15 group of universities, which would give me the top rated universities, right? And among the U15 universities comes University of British Columbia, Toronto, uOttawa, Western Ontario, Dalhousie, which is again close, like far in the east. Based on the U15 universities and based on the locations, I finally boiled down to Ottawa U. So I had Western Ontario in mind, which is in Ontario, uOttawa, capital of Canada, Toronto, UBC. UBC is in Vancouver. So a mix of location as well as ranking, I would say that that's the best way to choose a university. So it was so in Canada around September, it becomes very, very cold here, right? So you need to have, wear a jacket. So it becomes very cold. So one fine day, it was early morning. So I had a class. So I was waiting for the bus and somehow the bus got cancelled. So I thought of, let me have some coffee. So I went inside and I said, I want to have one small coffee. Good. And when I got the coffee, it was bitter. It was bitter, right? I was wondering, then how are people having coffee here? And everybody talks about hot drinks here. I went to school, my classes started, I discussed with friends. They said, oh, really? Even I also faced that kind of an experience. You know what? You should avoid having coffee here. It just tastes bad. Then after a lot of reflection, I realized, unlike India, when you ask for a coffee, it's just going to be a black coffee. You need to order 2 cream, 2 sugar, or whatever it is, which would at least make your taste better. So that was a kind of a funny learning for me. And when I actually discussed with friends, and they said, you should avoid drinking coffee here. So that was a fun part. So that's what was kind of a learning for me. Since I was from a technological background, I wanted to do a higher studies that's related to engineering, not jump into like the school of business studies, like doing an MBA. So I thought that let me stay into the technological background. This program that I pursued is offered by School of Engineering as well as the School of Business of University of Ottawa. So I get a mix of both, but rather than putting myself directly in the School of Business, where I would be competing with minds, those who have a significant number of industry experience. That's one. The second is my university here has a co-op option. Co-op is a kind of a program that's offered in Canada, where a student gets an opportunity to do an internship, and those internship period, that's just like, so here in Canada for your masters, you are eligible to do a co-op after completing 2 semesters, right? And the 3rd and the 4th semesters, you go full-time to a company, right? And where you really don't have any classes, but that's part of your academic curriculum. So which means if my course is designed in this way, so when I graduate, I would be having a well-defined Canadian work experience. So that gave me an edge. And how does co-op work? The university, it's just like how in India you have the on-campus placements. In North America, you do not have that, right? And like, again, this will go beyond the discussion of our meeting today. So international students do feel challenged, right? Like, how do I approach a company? Like summer is 2 months away. I need to have an internship. I need to have a work experience. So those things were actually taken care of in this program. And for me, it was a kind of an on-campus placement where companies like Statistics Canada, BlackBerry, Microsoft, Nokia, they all visited the company, right? All that is like, you pick and choose the companies that you're interested in, you apply, you go through an interview process, and they hire you. And so this is why I chose my university. India is the most second populous country with the most second population. Yes, I had a lot of Indians in my course. So out of a batch of 55, if I can remember correctly, around 25 to 30 were Indians. So that's a big number. And the rest were Canadians, mostly Canadians. Few of them were from Middle East as well. And yeah, so my friends were from Iran, Iraq, few from Saudi Arabia, and the rest were local Canadians out of the 50% of that pool. Yeah. So okay, in United States, the advantage is the universities are position of the universities are on a higher rank, right? So more research, more brainstorming, maybe your courses are more advanced. That's really an advantage studying in the United States. But when you look at what happens when you graduate, right? So I don't have much knowledge about it, but as far as I know, you need to apply for your H-1B. Mostly you are allowed to get it renewed twice. Then H-1B gets locked out. You might have to exit the country and re-enter unless the company that you're working for has other opportunities waiting for you. But countries like in Canada, once you complete your master's, and if you have a little bit of good work experience back home, like that's, I would say, minimum just 1 year or 2 years, they have a kind of a comprehensive analysis of skills based on points, right? And as soon as you complete your master's, you're actually eligible to apply for their permanent residence, right? And that gives a lot of confidence for international students like me 2 years back. So I knew that even when I don't get, maybe if I take time in applying for getting a job, Canada would be welcoming me. And the best part of Canada, after 2 years being a permanent resident, you can actually apply for the citizenship as well. So kind of like these badges, these kind of opportunities Canada has really in store. And again, Canada is just, I would say, an extension of North America. And yes, maybe you might not experience those kind of benefits which people talk about staying in the United States. So Canada is a little expensive country, but overall, I would say it's a perfect place. And again, as compared to the tuition fees in Canada and United States, Canada is way, way cheaper. And I also did tell you, right? If someone is struggling in finding scholarships as well as teaching assistant and research assistant positions, you can just go out and work in local stores nearby. You can work in a local grocery store, you can work in a coffee store, and you at least make for the $15 per hour a week, and that's for 20 hours in a week. At least you have an opportunity to get some pocket money. So overall, I would say Canada is the perfect place. I would say is the cultural transition, right? So for example, we Indians, when I look back, for example, when you're trying to navigate, when you're trying to, like for example, the questions that were asking me, right? They are very direct, right? It's for benefit of everyone. But when in a country like in North America, but I would say in North America as well as in Europe, in any developed nations, there is a cultural transition, right? So for example, when I went to the university, trying to understand about how to get jobs once you graduate, or what courses that you actually need to select, right? You really don't get very direct advice, right? People, those who are giving you an advice, puts the ball in your court. For example, you are looking for, maybe this is how it will be very easy to understand. For example, you're doing my course and the question is, how do I prepare myself that I get a job before even I graduate, right? The question is very simple. But if I tell you that you should follow your passion, you should follow your interest, you should look at what the companies are doing in terms of their products, it becomes challenging for international students, right? You have a budget in your mind. Once you graduate, you have 3 months to take care of yourself, and you really need a job, right? So those kind of feedback was a challenge. And even like when I was talking with professors, with my local Canadian friends, in terms of like finding choosing the courses, different programs, you really do not get a direct advice. So there are two things here. So back home, we are kind of a little bit task driven, right? So for example, if you could understand, even in our college days, the university would tell you, this is the 10 courses that you would need to study, 3 practicals. We never chose, right? And again, we have this on-campus placement, right? Where companies come and offer you a job, right? So we have never been exposed on that front where you actually choose the best thing for yourself. But in developed nations, what happens is, since you have a lot of opportunities, the internal motive that comes from everyone is they follow their passion. That is why they ask you to follow your interest. But in those kind of situations, when I came here back in 2018, was a kind of a challenge, because I was always working against a different culture, right? And the ball was always being put on my court. And it was a little difficult to navigate, but I would say I came out strong from there. But I would say that, again, every international students, wherever they go, they are going to experience this kind of a drawback, this kind of a setback, I would say, initially to start off.